And lastly, I said deliberately our present society of nations, and it's on that I wish to concentrate with you tonight and reflect upon it. Because, my friends, we belong to them. And the punishments that God will send on that community of nations will hit us. Remember Jesus, when he was walking to Calvary, dripping blood, and the women of Jerusalem wept, and he said to them, look, don't weep for me. Weep for yourselves and your children. And then he added a funny phrase, but people don't comment upon. He said, if they do this in the green wood, what do you think they're going to do in the dry wood? If you ever have tried to kindle fires in the country with wood running with sap, you can't do it. You pick up some twigs that are dry. My friends, we're both the green wood and the dry. And if they did that to my Lord Jesus, what do you think they're going to do to us? Both green wood and the dry. Now, the pathos and the tragedy of our position. And by the way, I'm not a lugubrious character or very sad or a pessimist. So these things I'm laying out to you, I thought I should do because we've been talking for these 3 days intensely about details. And I want you to see the wood for the trees, having gone through all the details. The pathos and the tragedy of our situation is only heightened by our own apparent helplessness. And that becomes more saddening and frustrating when we realize that literally millions, possibly billions of human beings, I sound like Carl Sagan, billions and billions, but possibly billions of human beings at the present moment love life, are pro-life. But all of us are caught. We're in a systemic community of nations which is anti-life, which has elected to be pro-death as a system, and we cannot get out of it. So we are caught up in the demonic energy of the great death wish. That is precisely the terrain on which we are working.
I am proud to say that the Democratic Party believes that women have the right to choose a safe, legal abortion with dignity.
And this includes our beloved America, unfortunately, where in the short space of, 18 years, 25 million have been done to cruel death by men and women, self-righteously and blandly claiming to belong to the order of healers, but who ruthlessly and cheerfully and efficiently spend their time tearing little human limbs, cracking crania like walnuts on Thanksgiving night, scavenging the remains for commodification. What a horrible thought. Commercial commodification of babies' bodies, and for export-import. And all this sophisticated skullduggery is sanctioned and condoned by two main blocks of people. First of all, our legislators, with the representatives of the people, who most unconscionably and for the sake of their own advancement have literally abused and prostituted the power that God the Father gave them. You would have no power over me, Jesus said to Pilate, this amoral coward, unless it were given to you from above. And then Jesus immediately added the second block of people involved in condoning and sanctioning. And he said, you would have no power unless it were given to you from above. Therefore, those who delivered you into into your power, have the greater sin. And these, we know them, my friends, we know them all. Uncomfortably, embarrassingly, bewilderingly, we know them all. It's a seemingly endless list of cultured, established, educated people. You know, our supremely wise men, our academicians, our sociologists, the leaders in both great major political parties, the party hacks and the ward healers, and the numerous gaggle of social commentators and trendsetters. By the way, respectable and respected people, trusted people, people who are in good standing in the community, well paid, well fed, well housed, well dressed people. All those who have made the slaughter of the innocents an integral element of our American life, of the politically correct and socially acceptable American person, the PCASAP, politically correct and socially acceptable person. Just remember to add to that list, by the way, you know the usual list of the politically correct and socially acceptable American person, you know, racial quotas, reverse discrimination, live-in buddies, same-sex parents, homosexual marriages, fetal experimentation. Add to that now abortion as an integral element to American life, as integral as the Bill of Rights in the minds of those who are pro-abortion. And let's be sure, in passing, by the way, amongst ourselves at least, to include in that establishment list the eminent and sometimes reverend monk-wumps, with their sitting on the fence of opportunity with their mug, their rumps on one side facing their oath of office, to to implement the solemn dogmatic doctrine of the church, and their faces peering anxiously on the other side, while they temporize with anodyne nothings and dialogue amicably and counsel patience wisely, because they will not keep their solemn oath for fear they might be called bigots and fanatics, for fear they might not be invited to the dinner salons of the great and take their place at the green top tables of power. My friends, how they yearn to be politically acceptable and socially correct. How they yearn. God bless them. To all of them, from the immunity of God's eternity, the greatest innocent, Jesus, and all the slaughtered innocents say in unison, you made this lethal legislation possible. What a terrible accusation. You made our murder legal. You continue to make this abomination viable. The greater sin is yours. You are the authors of this abomination. You are collaborators and cooperators in the great death wish. They won't hear it until eternity. But imagine being swamped in front of the throne of Jesus at your particular judgment by oceans of babies claiming you killed us. You made it legal. God help them. And please, let me ask you en passant not to assume, because sometimes we do blithely assume, that this great death wish aims at the death of the body, of millions of bodies. That too. But its purpose, in its authors, and its chief author, that liar and murderer from the beginning that Jesus contemned so much, Lucifer, the purpose is to ensure the death in the soul of mankind. The specific and ultimate aim of all death dealing, including abortion and euthanasia and contraception, the abortifacients, the specific aim is to eliminate the Holy Trinity from our midst in the family of man by making fatherhood and motherhood just alternative lifestyles, by trivializing that God-founded troika of husband, wife, and child into just one more socially adjustable arrangement, by reducing sonhood to penis possession and daughterhood to vaginal freedom, and married love to pleasurable mating habits, by in total effect thus eliminating the prototypes that God set up, the fatherhood of God in heaven, the sonhood of Jesus, the motherhood and the daughterhood of Mary, and the godliness of the Holy Family in Nazareth. That is the aim, not just the killing of bodies. And with that comes the death of the supernatural life of God in our midst. You know, I am come that you may have life and have it may abundantly, but you will not come to me that you may have life. One of Jesus' last pleas in John's Gospel. This is the real abomination. Now quickly add to America's abomination in this toll, add Europe's toll of the abomination, Soviet Union's toll of the abomination, China's toll of the abomination, India's toll of the abomination, Asia's and Africa's toll of the abomination, Australia's toll. What do you arrive at as a ballpark figure? I don't know. 500 million? 1 billion? It's not the number of zeros in those dreadful statistics that defy our minds. It's not that. It's much more the horrible fact, that the facts that paralyze our imaginations. And for the sake of our sanity, we cannot allow ourselves watch it, look at it, consider it. We ourselves can't. We can't see the crushed crania and the skewered limbs and the twisted entrails. We shove it all behind what the psychologists call the censor bond, this automatic closeout method by which we can shove away a dreadful scene we've seen. It emerges in our nightmares, but in normal life we are free of it. In the context of our present rational discourse, though, we can look away from it. We can also neglect the insouciance of the establishment. And when you consider these statistics, you are sure of one thing, my friends, that this is systemic. It's not by accident. It's within the system by which we live, by which governments make decisions, both local and national and international. You're dealing with something which is not a passing whim, an irregularity in nature, an accident that's going to be corrected over time. You're dealing with something now within the system of our government. It is systemic. And you and I, we're born, we live, and die within that system. We're caught in it. I want to examine the system with you slightly. And if you know, all Irishmen, traditionally, since St. Patrick came to Ireland, suffer from mental diarrhea. So When it gets too much, I know Father Marx will look at me with that marvelous friendship look he has. You know, if you get up in the morning, I want to study our present system by which we're living and what we're facing, especially the younger people, not us poor whiteheads perhaps.